Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Charlotte Canion on today's show.
Hi, I'm your host, Charlotte Canion, and today our guest is Teresa Palmer. She's a dynamic, result-driven leader. As a nurse practitioner and a certified yoga therapist, she is an expert in helping people find sanctuary in the pandemic. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Okay. Actually, my book changed title. It's Empowered for Wellbeing.
I wasn't saying the title of your book. I'm sorry. You want to start over?
Okay.
That was not the title of your book. I'm going to let you tell the title. I just do something that encapsulates who you are.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right.
You want to start over, Al? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, Charlotte, go for it.
Hi, I'm your award-winning host, Charlotte Canion, and today our guest is Teresa Palmer. She's a dynamic, result-driven leader. As a nurse practitioner and a certified yoga therapist, she's an expert in helping people find sanctuary during the pandemic. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yes, and before we dig into your book, I'd like you to tell a little bit about your family and your background and, how you got started in this industry.
Okay. I'm a nurse practitioner, and my specialty is holistic cardiology and holistic health, which means that I use a combination of traditional medicine, whole person medicine, some spirituality, some Eastern techniques. I've been a nurse practitioner for a while, and originally I started out in cardiac surgery. I started out as a very technical person that liked a lot of the hands-on and the really technical part of cardiac surgery. I had the opportunity to go to Romania on a medical mission, and my life completely changed because I learned that there was a different way of healing. There was a different way of practicing medicine, practicing nursing that wasn't always high tech, because where I was very low tech. And it really changed how I felt about things. After that, I did embark on my own spiritual journey. And I've incorporated more of that holistic approach ever since. So for about the past 21 years, I've been very, very holistic. Prior to that, yes, I was, but I was also kind of caught up in the technical aspect of quote unquote saving people. So.
Yeah. And now, has your family been behind you through this whole process?
Yes, my family's small. I have a husband, and we've always had dogs. We're on our fourth dog now, who is Lucky, and he's 2 years old now. My mother died about 15 years ago. So yes, they were always behind me. It was a very small family. I had an aunt who really encouraged me not only to get into nursing, but encouraged me to go to college, to go to a university as a nurse so that I would have more options. And she herself was head of Johnson & Johnson for the whole Northeast. So she was doing this at a time, if she were still alive, she'd be 100 years old. So she was doing this at a time when women weren't that well recognized. So I owe a lot of what I did also to her, because she was a very strong woman, a very empowered woman, and always told me I needed to stand on my own and help people.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Seton Hall University. I went twice. I did my undergraduate there. 2 years later, I went back for my graduate, which took me 9 years because I was working full-time, going part-time to school, and I had scholarships. But the scholarships were pretty small. They only allowed me to take 1 or 2 courses, and Seton Hall was very expensive. So everybody I saw come and go. I was probably one of the longest running graduate nursing students there. It took me a whole 9 years, but I did it. And paid about $20, maybe $100 for my entire education. So.
Oh, that's very good. Well, okay, tell us a little bit how you decided to write and when did you start writing?
Oh, I've been writing for a long time. I did some community blogging for the Huffington Post going back about 7 or 8 years. I've always blogged on eZine, on the web. I've just done different things. I've always been interested in writing. I was also interested in public speaking. And I really believed that public speaking was the way I wanted to go. I am a Toastmaster. I'm an international Toastmaster. And I'm a mentor, and I have the highest award, which is Distinguished Toastmaster. And it's a club for public speaking. So I really thought that was my way. But every time I did a speech, I also wrote very well. I did some blogging for some of the Toastmaster clubs that I belong to. And I had an idea for a book actually 21 years ago when I did my yoga therapist training. And we had to do a short thesis. So I did my thesis, and it was about empowering people to take charge of their health. Because as a nurse practitioner, what I saw, and I still continue to see, and that's the reason I wrote the book, was we tend to give our power away, especially to healthcare providers, because we're afraid as individuals that we don't know enough and we'll maybe make the wrong choice or make a mistake. And we also believe that somebody else knows better than we do. So 21 years ago, I wrote about this. I wrote about things like gratitude, the spiritual side of nursing, living from your heart, how to empower people, and how to actually get to the core of health rather than just masking the symptoms, so to speak. And my instructor said that should be a book. And that's what she wrote on my thesis. And I kept it in my closet, and I would look at it every now and then. And I guess because it was more the spiritual end about compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, relationships, living from your heart, meditation, yoga, I just never felt that there was a captive audience. I did do a course, I taught at Rutgers, and I did do a community course called Rewrite the Script of Your Life. And that was too about how we have the power to change our story. And we could do this anytime we want. And it was a fairly popular course. It was a community adult education. And at the time I was working in student health there as a nurse practitioner. So I think the course went on about 3 years and people enjoyed it. Always had writing a book in the back of my mind. I did some writing for professional journals. I did some chapters and books on EKGs and cardiac, but I just never wrote a book. When all this happened, I like to call it the uncertainty rather than the pandemic. When everything happened, I had a captive audience at work because people began to realize, at least in the beginning, that healthcare providers knew as much as they did about this. And suddenly I had a captive audience. There was no pill, there was no shot, there was nothing that they could take to prevent this from happening or to lessen the symptoms. So they began to listen to me about breathing, about fear, about moving into courage, about facing things head on. We did a lot of meditation, breath work. I gave them some yoga postures, some ideas and books about what to do even with yoga. And one of my patients said, "You should write a book." And I thought, okay, I got hit over the head numerous times over the years. It's time I wrote a book. So it's more like a handbook. It's kind of a guide to getting through everything because I saw so much fear in people. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of fear. And I'm trying to help move people out of that fear into courage by giving them the knowledge of how we go from health to illness and that we play a part in it. At least 70% of the time, stress and something that we do, either our actions, our thoughts, lead us down the path away from good health into illness. So I wrote the book. Balboa Press published it very quickly within 2 weeks. Since I had all the material, it only took me a month to write the book. And now I'm in the process of revising it to make it a full-length book, because I want to go deeper into things, because I think the time is right now to really let people know a lot about the unknown part of health and medicine that we really don't talk about: the chakras, subtle energy, all those things. And that's a part of me, and that's a part of my energy. And I also want to give that to people in the book. So I should be through with that. I have a due date on a proposal for Hay House Publishers, June 30th. So I'm revising and rethinking things. But I really got into it because people needed my help, and the time was right. That was one thing I could say that this whole year has done, is really open people's eyes to health and well-being and how important it really is.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you. My book is You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying: How to Parent Your Parents, and I'm the voice of the caregiver. So I totally can, relate to what you're saying. Is we have to take a hold of our destiny, and it's not that we can't change it. We can. We can change it. Yeah, we can change
but
it.
But we can't change.
Well,
we can't change anyone else.
No. Well, Teresa, I want you to hold that thought for a minute, because we're going to be right back after a brief message from our sponsors.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
Factor 7, the newest thriller by author J.D. May, will keep you turning the pages with mystery, betrayal, lies, and infidelity. Ripped from the headlines, Factor 7 follows two prominent doctors who uncover a clandestine plot to spread a bioweapon with a 98% mortality rate. Journey with them as they experience a world of murder, power, intrigue, and corruption, where it becomes deadly clear that exposing the truth is just as dangerous as the weapon they seek to expose.
Welcome to the Lone Star Festival, where Texas authors, artists, and creators come together for a Texas-sized event. Join us on May 29th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Town Square, downtown Seguin, Texas. Free for all readers. Produced by Texas Authors Institute of History. Sponsored by B4R.store, a bookstore for readers, Authors Marketing International, and the City of Seguin.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audio book is Love's Reality, and it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book, From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's The Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti. And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then The Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story, and then Tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bame's books are available at B4R Store.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Charlotte Canion on today's show.
Hi, This is Charlotte Canion, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with Teresa Palmer. Now, Teresa is telling her an exciting story about how she got into holistic medicine and yoga and therapy and being a nurse practitioner, how she intertwines all of these to help all of us through this pandemic or this crisis that we've all gone through. Now, some of us, know how we can step up, but Teresa has actually put it in black and white so we can read it and we can grab onto it. Teresa, tell us a little bit more about, and maybe you want to share one of your yoga therapies with us.
Okay, yoga is a little hard to share because you kind of have to physically do the poses. But one thing that I can say about yoga is the most important pose is the end of yoga. It's called Shavasana, or relaxation. And what that is you lay on the floor, on your back, close your eyes, and just be. And that's actually where you get the most benefit out of yoga after you've done the postures, after you've done the breathing, perhaps done some singing. Sometimes there's satsangs where you sing with yoga. And the really most important part is at the end to just lie there and be for at least 10 minutes so that your body has a chance, the physical body could absorb everything that the yoga practice has done. Yoga is a moving meditation. It's done with physical postures that build strength, that build endurance, that help the bones because you're using your own weight to do the postures. It could be modified anyway so that you could do more strenuous or more difficult postures. You could do easy postures. People could do it in chairs. So there's really yoga for everyone. What I like best about yoga is the fact that it is a moving meditation and it's non-competitive. You're not competing with anybody or anything. You're just there and you're just offering your yoga practice for the good of mankind.
Let me ask you this. I know we were talking about the pandemic and all, but it sounds like some of the yoga postures would be good in senior health centers and senior, in the senior living.
Yes, and it's very popular. There's probably 100 different ways to do yoga classes. So it all depends on the individual, but a lot of places have started incorporating that with children and with the elderly. And I guess probably about 15 years ago, I was working with my church and I gave a yoga class, not only for the parishioners, but I gave a yoga class for the students, and the students really enjoyed it. So yoga could be enjoyed by anybody. It's really, yoga is important, meditation's important, and meditation is very simple because basically all you have to do is sit and be quiet. So it's not really complicated.
With that being said, how effective is it with children, and how young could yoga be, integrated into a children's life?
I was doing it with children that were about 5th grade, 6th grade and up. So sometimes they wouldn't sit still. That was a challenge because to get them to quiet their mind was pretty much a challenge. They'd be trying to hit each other. The good part was it was Catholic schools, so they were fairly well behaved if you told them they listened. So they got a lot of benefit though. They really, as we progressed with it, they really enjoyed the relaxation part the best. They really enjoyed laying down after the postures were done and just letting everything go and being there.
That's good. Okay, you said early on that you had, and we know that we authors, we change titles, we change chapters, we hone the book. What is the title of your book, your working book today?
It's called Empowered for Wellbeing, and it is what it says. I'm helping people. My mission has always been with my nursing is to empower people to take charge of their health, to know that they can be as healthy as they want to be. And they could move. They don't have to be fearful when something comes along. Usually if people are fearful, it's because they don't understand it. So when everything hit last year, people didn't understand it. Yes, a lot of it was also sensationalized, which did not help anybody. It just helped people move into fear. But if people had the understanding that they're in charge of their health, they're in charge of their body, and the only one they're really responsible for is themselves. That's all we can be responsible for. Gandhi said, be the change that you want to be in the world. He didn't say change the world. He said, change yourself to make change in the world. So, I think there was just, people didn't quite understand. They didn't know, a lot of people didn't know things like how gratitude builds immunity, how living from your heart allows you to make rational decisions. Because when you're fearful and you make a snap decision, it's a survival decision. And it may be good for a few minutes. Usually it's run, get away, do the best that you can with something. But in the long run, that's not a good decision, because you're using the primitive part of your brain and your intellect is not kicking in, your emotions are not kicking in. And all these things help people make a rational decision. So when we had the toilet paper hoarding, that was really a survival mechanism. Why they picked toilet paper, I have no idea. But it was a survival. It was at that point, survival of the fittest. I'm going to get as much of something that I can control as I can. And at that point, you don't worry about other people at all, because it's me, I need to survive. When you live from your heart and you're able to bring emotions, let them come into your heart. If they're the calm, peaceful emotions, right away it activates the vagus nerve, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, peace and calm. Okay. If there are emotions that you're not feeling that great about, if you take them into your heart, you allow them to rest there and you could think about it. So you don't engage your brain right away into, boom, I have to do something. You could take a few moments, think about things. You access the higher part of your brain that says, am I really in danger physically? Or am I reacting to something? And once you know that you're not in imminent physical danger, somebody's not holding a gun to your head, somebody has not broken into your car or kidnapped you or anything. After that, you could start to process your emotions. You could take your time and make rational decisions. And that's what really is needed and was so crucial throughout this whole year, that a lot of it, if you think about it, was very irrational. And a lot of times, if you ask people why they did what they did, they couldn't tell you. It was just fear that was driving them, rather than self-reliance, self-confidence, and knowing that you're always in charge of the choices that you make, in charge of things that you do. You always have a choice.
Let me ask you this. A lot of America has gone into a depression. How do they get started, down the journey, the holistic or the yoga journey, if they're, under the covers with the, with their head covered up?
In all honesty, many need professional help. And I actually have a very close friend that is not coming out of her house at all now. And I've tried to address that with her. It's difficult, but you just have to, what people have to really understand is that they're in charge of everything, that you can't live your life under the covers. You can't not go out and do things. You have to have faith. You have to take a risk. I mean, people live in war-torn countries with bombs going off behind them. They go grocery shopping, they go to school, they go to work. They adapt to the situation. So, and I would say definitely you turn off the news, you don't get involved with any hype, and you venture out of there. And if you have somebody that's supportive, if everybody in your family, like my friend, unfortunately, they're all hiding under the covers, it's very difficult. There's sometimes, it's a shame what we're doing to people. And I think that down the road, we're going to really see what all this created.
Well,
And
Teresa,
hope-
you're making so much sense, and I'm sure there's thousands of people that hear this and can take heed and get your book. Let's take a minute and let our sponsors do their thing, and we'll be right back with Teresa.
Hi, I'm Rox Berkey. I write the Enigma series with my co-author. We write as Brakefield and Berkey. Today we have 12 books in this series, with The Enigma Threat being the newest release on January the 8th of 2021. It's an exciting book that goes to the next generation, and we hope that you'll check it out and all the other books in the Enigma series. Thank you.
Publishing marketing package for authors. $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload Jingle Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS. Plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details, or bourgeoismedia.com.
Hi, I'm Mel Greenberg, author of Running with Our Eyes Closed, book 1 in the Empty Nested series. To the world, Samantha has the perfect life. 3 wonderful children, a loving husband, so she thought, and a life split between Dallas and Italy. When her youngest leaves for college, it all comes crashing down, forcing Samantha to re-examine everything. Over 7 days in one of the most romantic countries in the world, Samantha faces the past she thought she'd overcome and begins to redefine her role as a woman, a wife, and a mother.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canion, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canion, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Charlotte Cannon on today's show.
This is Charlotte Canion, and I'm having the pleasure of speaking with Teresa Palmer. Teresa, this is the time when we need people to know how to get a hold of you. I need you to share your website. Tell them again the name of your book and how they can reach you if they need to have you come speak to their group, or speak at a center or at a church.
Okay, my website is www. And it's Wellbeing Gal. I'll spell it out because it's just it's Wellbeing Gal all put together. So it's WELLBEINGGAL.com. I'm also on Facebook, Wellbeing by Teresa. People could reach me on Facebook. Most often I do weekly videos. I've been doing a lot of Facebook Lives, and every week I talk about things like how to speak your truth, how to stand in your truth, how to take charge of things, meditation. We go over a lot of different things. The tools that are in my book are about meditation, mostly about meditation, about breath work, about how our attitude, how our intuition helps lead us into health, and how the cells, we keep memory in our cells of any trauma. And the more anger and the more bad, I should say not bad, but more negative thoughts and negative actions that you have, you set yourself up for disease. So my book goes into a lot about stress, what stress does to the body, and it really does a lot. It's difficult to lose weight, so anybody out there who has difficulty losing weight during this, it's all stress and cortisol driven. And once you start to manage the stress, you can manage the weight. But you can't, if you're stressed, you can't lose weight. It's very, very difficult.
And as you were saying, it's what we dwell on, we go towards. So if we dwell on the positive, we will go towards positive. If we dwell on the negative, that's where we're going to stay. Now, that's that's kind of what you're saying. One thing I'd like you to share, because we've got a couple of minutes left here, but I always ask my authors, since, this is a show of interviewing authors of all genre, what would you tell a young author who had a book in her head, because you said you had a book in your head for a long time, how to get it out, how to get started, what do they need to do to motivate themselves, and what advice would you give them?
What I would say to them is, if it's in your heart, just go ahead and do it. Start writing things down. The best books and the best stories are when you're authentic, when you write from your heart and you write as a real person. So I would just start by writing ideas. In fact, I think it's going to be in June. I'm doing a workshop with a creative writing group out of Morocco. So that should be interesting. And what I'm doing is actually the creative, authentic writer, to be yourself, to pick a topic, something that you're really passionate about, something that maybe you've taught, something that really excites you, and then show that excitement to your audience. Don't worry about how you're writing. Don't try to write like a specific author. The way I did it was, and people may disagree, is don't try to write for the crowd. Just try to write what you're passionate about, and the people that need it will show up. So I think when you try too hard, it just doesn't work.
Right.
You just have to be yourself, put down your ideas, know that you could do it, and really just do it. You have nothing to lose. What's there to lose?
Well, Teresa, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so very much. I can't wait to get my hands on your book. And this is Charlotte Canion, your host. And I want you to remember, a rose is like a book. You can't know its beauty until you look at it. But a book is like a rose. You won't know its full beauty until it's open. Until next time, have a nice day and stay safe.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, produced by Biala Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC. Copyright 2021. Voiceover by Biala Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please email us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please complete the form found on our website at indiebeacon.com. You may also watch previous year's shows on the website. Music is Frolic of Words, created for Indie Beacon.